So this is supposed to represent the assignment that you guys are going to be working on with your still life. If you went to the commons area, I'd like you guys to use the really large piece of paper. Use it as much as possible. Those of you who didn't go and grab supplies, doors are still open, or just grab whatever paper that you have. And what I did is I set up a still life in my kitchen and a still of just objects. And so I took a picture of it with my phone so you guys can see. I got a couple apples and oranges and a cup with some straws in it. And I'm going to be looking at this still life to draw my still life art project. And first thing I want to do, what I highly recommend, is make some thumbnails. Remember, we talked about in the PowerPoint that a thumbnail is like a little tiny mini drawing. And that's what I'm going to do over here. Let me just zoom up just a bit. Zoom, 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 zoom. Okay, so for example, while I'm looking at this, like I can think about how can I crop this off. So some things I do is like I kind of make a little picture frame with my fingers and I say, okay, well that looks pretty interesting. I like how there's kind of like this movement happening in here. And I will come in, draw a little thumbnail, make sure that you guys can see that. Trying to make a rough estimate of how big my paper is, and then decide, okay, so where are those objects going to go on that? Okay, so I kind of like how the bread box kind of ends right here, and I had a cup. So it's just a fast little sketch, see if I like it or not. And then my apple was right here. I had this and this object. I'm still keeping it simple, thinking about those shapes, etc. And so that was my idea for my first thumbnail. And my suggestion is to do 3. Think of 3 different ways you can look at this. I would try to have at least 3 objects happening at the same time. So let's see, let me move this down. Here's my second thumbnail that maybe I can figure out here. So I think what I had my fingers doing is the cup was in the center. I had the straws coming off right over here. And then I had the cup here coming off. Again, trying to fit at least 3 objects into this. And that's pretty nice. I kind of like that one too. And so that's my second thumbnail. Again, I would suggest doing 3. Once you get that figured out, we're going to zoom out just a bit. Oops. Back to my large piece of paper that I have. Let's say I really like this one at the very top, and that's the one I want to do. And if you do a thumbnail that doesn't look good, that's okay. It's a thumbnail. I can just cross it out, pretend it never happened. So I'm going to turn this paper over so I can use the back side of it. And now I can start my actual drawing. I'm going to, just thinking aloud right here, I'm going to start blocking this in. And I'm also, remember, always look at your image. I'm going to turn it this way so I can make sure I get it the right way. Or, oh, well, we're just going to run with it, see what happens. So, my bread box ends right up here. I'm going to start blocking in. I'm going to choose one object that I'm going to compare everything. I really like this cup, this roundness, to choose for my one object. Let's see, I need to check back on my thumbnail to make sure I'm in the right place. So I wanted the cup to go right here, thinking it's simple shapes, starting with the circle. I had an apple out here. I can use my pencil to check the angles of what's going on, making sure I'm getting everything. And the apple and the cup are really close to the exact same spacing and shape. And so once I feel pretty comfortable with that, then I can start. Looks like the cup comes down here, raises up. Oh, I'm a little bit off. I got to figure out where I'm off. And if something's off, there probably is something off, and you have to figure out, okay, what is off? What's throwing it off? I had another orange off in the distance right over here. Okay, because I like this little movement that's happening. And once I get those basic shapes, now I can start looking at details that I want. I filled up the entire page, and now I can think about things like the stem of the orange right over here. And erasing those lines. Like, for example, this little tiny bitty orange right here, I've got a lot of scribbly lines trying to figure out where it is. Now I can slow down, think about what's going on, take my eraser. So one of the things I'm looking at is just, this eraser is doing a terrible job, is line cleanliness, that it's not scribbly, taking the time to now think and analyze my line. And maybe I want to weight the line in this orange over here. So I want to make maybe the line a little bit thicker on the bottom, and then it thins out and it lightens up to the top. Usually line weight is something that I think about towards the end of my drawing. I can think about this little stem, what kind of lines are happening right there. And I got my drawing of the small little mandarin orange. Can come into the apple, creating clean lines. And I'll just slowly continue to progress this drawing, observing what's happening. Maybe I want this line to darken right here. Just create a little bit of line variety while we're going. So anyways, if you guys have questions with this assignment, remember, feel free to email me or contact me on Canvas. I'm not going anywhere, so I'll be here. And always think about your space being dynamic, you know, like what's going on in the background. I can make these ridges over here. Just little hints of lines. Hey, Diana. All right.